Sergio, there you are.
I'm here.
Here you are. Okay, I gotcha. Christian. I don't see Christian. Okay, no Christian. Gwyneth. Gwyneth. Okay, no Gwyneth. Joel. Joel. I don't see you, Joel. Okay. Sibani. Is Sibani here? Okay, no Sibani. Mandy. I think I saw Mandy first thing, but Mandy. Oh, there you are.
I'm here.
Okay,
It looks like Joel just signed on too.
Oh, okay. Okay. And Mandy, how's your video? Oh, Joel, I'm marking you present. I marked you absent, but I see you there. Haley is here. I saw you. I saw you in your faithful drawing companion. Mary Han. Yes, I see you there.
I'm here.
Okay. Glad you're here. Cody. Is Cody here? No, Cody. Calvin, I saw you. Hello, Calvin. Jerry. Jerry, there you are.
I'm here.
Okay, I see you, Jerry. And your video was not working last time or part of last time?
No, I just didn't. I have it on my phone now, so it
okay.
should have worked now.
Okay, well, I can see you very clearly, so that's good. Mia. I see Mia.
I'm here.
Selena.
I'm here.
Okay, where are you? Say something else, Selena, so I can find you.
I'm here.
Okay, I don't see you, but I hear your voice. Is your video on?
Yeah, I see myself.
Oh, there you are. There you are. I see you, Selena. Okay. It's just that every time somebody signs on and off, everybody's picture shifts. So even if I might have seen you, you've moved. So it's like every time I turn to look at the blackboard, everybody gets up and moves chairs. So that's fun. I know you guys aren't trying to mess with me. All right, Soleil, I see you sort of. I don't see you, but I see you.
I'll start giving up water. I'm here.
Okay, all right. Alexis. Where's Alexis? No Alexis. I have her not here last time either. Kirti.
I'm here.
There you are, Kirti. You know, one of the things attendance should be, one of the things we're teaching remotely should make easier is things like attendance, because Zoom keeps track of everybody who's on the meeting. But to go into those settings and find it actually takes longer than just taking attendance, unfortunately. Tiliana, I see, Tiliana, that your name is here.
Yeah.
Can't see or hear you.
I'm here. I don't know.
Do you have video?
Yeah.
Oh, there you are. I'm looking at the other device. Okay, I see you, Tiliana. You're all good. You're here. And I do not have you as here last time. Is that right?
I came into class late. I didn't know to tell you that.
Okay. All right. So you were late last time, but you're up on everything that's going on and you need to know. Okay. All right. And Caitlin. There's Caitlin. Okay. I see you, Caitlin. All right. Okay. So like I was saying, things didn't move as quickly as I wanted them to last time, but it was still, I'm sorry, this morning, but that was still fine. We do have kind of multiple things to review in terms of the homework. I wanted to thank you guys that so many of you submitted those permission forms for using your images. And if you're still considering doing that, I'd really appreciate it. I know I put a due date on there, but that was just only to be a reminder for you guys. So please feel free to just fill that out anytime. So one thing that took a lot of time with the last class was we were talking about studio setup, and I think that was probably appropriate that it took a lot of time. If you guys have any questions now, that's fine, but I am going to review some of your still life arrangements that you sent me, partly so we can just keep talking about how to set up a good still life, and partly because you guys sent some images of your studio arrangement, and I think it would be really great to look at those to just kind of make sure we're all on the same page about what we're shooting for. What I imagine happening a little later in class when we actually go to start drawing, which we are going to do today, is that some of you guys are going to have some questions. I'm also just going to have to give you a little bit of feedback, probably each of you individually, and it may not even happen today. It may be over the course of a few days that I talk to each of you as you get your mounts and as all this stuff arrives. Hopefully you all, how many people have everything right now? They have their easel, their mount, their kit, everything. Okay, a lot of you do. How many people are waiting on an easel? Still waiting on an easel. How many people are waiting on a mount for their phone, device, whatever? Okay, most of you have that, but a few of you don't. How many people are waiting on their kit? Looks like everybody but one person has their kit, so I feel good about that. If you don't have your kit, if you have some backup Vine charcoal and newsprint, that would be ideal. If you don't, just paper and a pen, you know, something to get us through till you have it. So so when we do go to draw, I'll be kind of saying like, hey, can you adjust your camera this way or that way? But the rule of thumb is really going to be, if the closer you can get your camera to your head, you know, to being like right where one of your eyeballs is, that's the best place for it for me to see it too. So I don't want it to be where your head ought to be, so you're hanging over here like this trying to draw. Believe me, I've made enough videos, instructional videos, that is not fun, and that's not how I want you to draw this semester. But if you can get as close to that as possible, it'll give me the best view of the still life. I might say to you, hey, it's too dark or it's too light, things like that. So we'll work through it, and that'll be slow. The other thing I want to do, show you some images of gesture drawings, just kind of give you some context for how I think about gesture drawing and how it sort of fits in. Soleil, did you have a question?
When are we supposed to have the mannequin dolls by? My mom was gonna order them, but she wanted to know, like, do we have to have it right away or?
No. I mean, easily more than a month from now. I would say like November, we need to have them.
Okay.
The figurines, right? So if you guys see shipping and it's not going to get here till the end of October, I still wouldn't be too worried about it.
Okay.
Okay. Maybe even later we'd be fine. Maybe even like the middle of November we'd be fine. But that's just what I'm. No, that's not true. Well, I'd say the first week of November it'd be nice to have them. Okay. Well, let's take a look at some of these 1-point perspective drawings. Now, I guess something I'd love to hear from you either right now or just as we're reviewing the images is how did those videos work for you? Were there parts that were unclear or parts that could have been more clear? Or, you know, are there things you still have questions on? What I did was I sort of tried to pick out the images. I guess like if I noticed several people having the same issue, I mostly picked images that you guys submitted that had a problem. So like you might have submitted 6 great images, 6 great drawings, and then one drawing that I found something wrong with, and I chose that one to look at during critique just because it's going to be more efficient and give me more chances to talk to you guys about things. So I may not have picked one of your drawings. I'm still happy to give some feedback if you want that, but you know, individually, and I will type in, you know, a little bit maybe as a grade, but the main things that I thought were issues, I just tried to select one of each to sort of show you guys, or in some cases maybe there were 2 of them and I showed you that. So hopefully this is going to go smoothly. I'm going to pull up screen for you, and again, please kind of interject if you can think of anything that you'd like to know. Okay. Am I successfully screen sharing? And does it, hopefully the picture's big enough. I'm going to click on the individual pictures and make them larger. So just looking at some different people's drawings, this one looked pretty good. Obviously, it's photographed a little crooked. You know, I'd rather turn it a little bit like this. Most of the lines, as I'm looking at it, seem to go back. Let's get the vanishing point included in there. Okay, can you see it better now? Maybe I should have just left it crooked. Yep, I give up. Okay, so anyway, each of these lines seems to be going back to the vanishing point. I'll try to get a little thicker mark for you guys. Can you see in red what I'm drawing? So that's sort of the main thing I'm checking as I'm looking at this. However, one line just struck me as not going the right direction, and it was this line right here. When I saw that line, it was one of the angles that was going back in space, but it didn't travel back to, you know, converge at the vanishing point as all the other lines appear to do. So you would need to change the angle of that, the top of that box, to more like that. You know, it might feel almost like a sliver by the time you've done it right, but that happens to be what's appropriate. So that's kind of the angle you're looking at right there. Does that make sense? So whoever did this drawing, if you want to speak up and tell me kind of what your thoughts are there, I'd love to hear them. But the thing I would say is either you were looking at the example video and it looked more like this, and so you felt like you needed to change it. But for where you put your shape and its relativity to the vanishing point, that's what it needed to be. Or you just had no idea where that line was supposed to go. I'm not sure which one. One other line I want to point out to you is this one. This I think was just kind of an honest mistake, but that is something that should have been a perfectly horizontal line like this one. It needed to be parallel to that line. Instead, it feels like it's just dipping down. So I would say, you know, this horizontal, it needs to be more like this, you know, and that's where, you know, this line would connect at, where this side would terminate, and then this is really, you know, again, maybe the lines going back in space kind of messed with you a little bit, but do you see how that's sort of where it runs into the back side, and then you would need to go straight up from there, which would get rid of this line. So is that clear to you guys?
Mhm.
Okay. Another one I wanted to show you. Let's do the shapes, and then we'll deal with the room. So these looked pretty good. This person's drawings in general looked really good. And you attempted something that I thought about including in the video. I didn't include it, but I always do it in my classes, and it's tricky. So you actually cut out, actually, maybe I'm misunderstanding what you did. But what it looks like is that right here, you cut out a hole in the middle of the box. What I'm not sure of is if you were intending this backside to be a flat wall, or if you were saying we're seeing through that to the open space behind it. So whose is this? And did
That's mine. I had my larger box, and then I tried to cut the box in half and kind of push one corner back, but then you should also kind of be seeing a hole through the box.
okay?
Like there's
Oh, were you
that,
trying to push all this back? Or that's not what you mean?
uh
You mean the inside?
yeah, like so imagine if you had that whole larger box
Yeah,
and I
this
would have,
box.
yeah, and so I just tried to cut a corner out of that and push it back, and then also have a line like a box moving through that's not supposed to be there. Like
Okay.
you cut a hole out of it. So I cut a corner back, and then through that entire box I tried to cut
A hole all the way
Yeah.
through.
Yeah,
Okay. So
I tried at least.
no, that's great. So so I appreciated that you tried it. So this part, when you say I cut the corner out, I'm kind of imagining this part is not there anymore. Is that fair? Okay, I can see that, and I can see where you erased.
Definitely.
Now, when looking at the inside of the box, this does not go far enough back to be the back side of the box. So if you were drawing this whole box, and I don't know if I said this in the video, but even if I did, it's worth just me repeating it. So whenever you're drawing any box, my rule is always draw every box as if it's see-through. And that way, whenever we have any kind of issues, or we're trying to modify the box and make it more complex, you can more easily do that if you can see sort of everything that was going on in the box. So I'm just drawing, I'm kind of right now with the green, just redrawing your box. So this is sort of where I think your box would be. Is that green way too light for you guys to see? Hopefully not.
I can see it pretty
Okay.
well.
Okay. So anyway, so uh-oh, that was bad. What I just did was bad. Okay, I'm just going to leave it alone then. So I've got the back side of this box back here, like, and I'm actually imagining just following these lines. Oh, I'm still on the eraser. Okay. I'm following these lines back. For whatever reason, to me, it connects somewhere else. Okay. So, okay. So you saw I made the back opening a little bigger than it was originally. I didn't connect it properly. So something about these lines isn't lining up quite right for me, which is why the bottom set is telling me, when I connect, I'm going to change colors again, but when I connected down here, this line back to the vanishing point, these intersected here. But when I connected the top two lines, they intersected over here. Does that make sense? So there's something a little funny going on in the box. Let's just ignore that for the moment. What I wanted to point out to you is that the back of this hole, this opening right here, that has to be happening in this, right? It has to be right there. So that opening on the back of the box is actually where we're looking for that hole to go. So the only thing I would say is maybe off about this is you can't see through the box. You can see a hole disappearing down the box, but you don't actually see it. So this is, if I was drawing this as if it were see-through, here's how I would finish this drawing, or here's how I'd complete it for you now. Do you guys see how I'm kind of, oops. You'd think I could do this a little cleaner, but do you see me sort of completing those four edges of the inside? It's almost like there's a second box inside the first box. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I'm going to change yet again to another color. It's going to be black this time, just to visualize for you that this would be the inside wall here. This would be what we can see of it. This would be the whole thing, going back. And then here, this is what we would see. We would just see the floor, but it would go all the way back and disappear in there somewhere. Okay. All right. So this was good. I mean, this was a good drawing, but I just wanted to point out that it goes farther, and those lines continuing back and drawing the back side of the box is so critical for those kinds of shapes, because that's how you know where they really go. Sometimes we can fake it and get away with it, but sometimes it stands out and you can notice it.
Thank you.
Sure. And what you could have said to just shut me up is, oh, I was trying to do it like that. It was actually only that deep. But
Yeah, actually, I meant to do that.
yes,
Absolutely.
right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you for letting me demonstrate on that. By the way, the other shapes were great. The way you divided, up here for this box, it seems like you're finding all the midpoints. And your ellipses seem strong. They don't feel deflated, and they turned into a nice cylinder. So all that was working just fine for you. One more. Did we already talk about this one? Yes. Let's look at this one. So which one did I want to talk about with this one? Oh, two things. So this is kind of the back to the basic box, but this box right here gave me some trouble, like the back side of it. And so you did the front side more or less properly, just drawing that front face of the box. Then I think you did just fine drawing all those lines going back to the vanishing point. And then, or if you didn't, they're not that bad that it matters. But then the hard thing was getting parallel lines to your first line. So this line might have been a little bit crooked, but then this line feels even a little bit more crooked. This line, yeah, it was a little off, but this line got even more off. And then, you're actually, for your horizontal lines, I think they had problems too. See how they need to connect with horizontal lines? So it's just a matter of maybe a little more attention to detail in terms of getting those lines that are not supposed to be at an angle to truly not be at an angle. Your perspective lines feel fine. I hope I'm not messing with anybody by drawing these lines out of order, but I was trying to draw the lines that seemed the most off in terms of their angle first. So just paying attention to those lines not, being straight or not being straight, that would be a concern. And then this one got a little funny for me. And I still can't quite find a line that tells me why, although I've been looking at this for a little bit. But I'm thinking you started with the front shape of your box, because you have to build a box and then, make your cylinder from that. Are you guys okay with this red color? Like, is that bad or good? It's okay. All right. It's hard to know what comes across in the screen. So you drew this box, then you drew it going back in space. Then you decided, okay, it's going to be this deep. So all that feels okay. Something up here, just where these connected, and I'm not, I mean, I know I've got your drawing in front of me, but I think that's where it gets a little funny, is like, see how there's not, the back side of the box is sort of here, like you decided to make it this deep, but it's not. Does that make sense? Like, this line isn't matching up with, I'm gonna change colors so you can see, well, change values maybe a little bit, so you can see what I'm talking about. This line really ought
I
to be
think
meeting
the
up
issue
over
is the
here.
point. Like the point, there's something wrong with the point, so he can't make the box look right. Maybe if we move the point more to the right, maybe it can come. I feel like the wrong with the point.
Yeah, you're saying you feel like the vanishing point is the problem?
Yeah.
Where the vanishing point is positioned could be making it harder to keep straight the lines, especially in an area like this, where many lines are coming together in the same place. So yes, that's true. Where I hope that, as you're drawing, you would have noticed that that was the problem, is when you tried to connect the back corner of the box and it's connected to something that shouldn't have even been there yet. You know, you shouldn't have even been drawing an ellipse yet, so this line wouldn't have even existed. So this line to me feels like it was almost drawn, you know, it's drawn as the edge of the cylinder, but it feels like the box that it was supposed to be built inside of never got drawn. Does that make sense? Like you never had the original box. The
It's
only
not my drawing, but like I figure what is wrong with like the draw. So I see maybe it's just the point, but it's not my drawing.
It's not your
So,
drawing, correct? Okay, so it's I don't know whose drawing it is, but it's as I'm looking at it more, that's what I'm realizing is I think this line was the line you made at the very end to show the edge of the cylinder, but you never made the original box the cylinder needed to go in. So unless you have, and I'm just jumping over here and I'm going to do a very quick, you know, version of the box, but unless you have a box to build inside of, you're going to have a lot of trouble making something that's accurate. So, you know, now I can figure out where my ellipses go if I can do the X and the plus and all of these things. And then, you know, somewhere along the way, you know, at the very end, I can find the outside edges of the cylinder. But you need all of that other structure to help explain that. Did I do that in too sloppy of a way, or did it make sense to you guys? Hopefully it
No,
made
I understand.
Calvin. Okay, all right. Thanks, Calvin, for saying that. I can only see like 3 or 4 of you right now, so I'm just kind of going by what the 3, if the 3 people nod their head or not. Okay, let's talk about the room. I picked a couple of rooms just to show you, and I think actually this was not about the room. I thought the room looked really good in this one. This was just to point out to you on this box, I wanted to point out to you that this line should be parallel with this line. So the first line is good, you know, it's a square, rectangle, whatever, perpendicular lines. But back here, wherever you connect these 2 lines that are, you know, we're heading back to the vanishing point, it has to be a straight horizontal line, a line that is parallel to the line up here. Okay, so your room though looks very nice. All the lines go back to a vanishing point. I wish you would have put the vanishing point in. I can make a pretty educated guess on where the horizon line is because you drew the little man off to the side. But I also see this line down here at his neck, and so I'm wondering, was that the horizon line? So I like to just see the line indicated, and I'd like to see the vanishing point on the line for those of you guys who left it out. But a very interesting space. So you guys could have, what I was thinking you would do is just copy the room on the video. Some of you guys in this class and the other class, some of you guys did that, and some of you guys drew your own room based off what you learned off the video. And either of those things is really just fine with me. So this room looked pretty good. What did I want to point out in here? Oh, just 2 little things. I actually wanted to point out where you don't need to worry about perspective, which is something like the vertical lines on the front of this entertainment stand. These lines, you know, these cabinet doors, they're parallel to these other lines that you did draw vertical. So do you see how those would still be vertical straight lines? The lines you have going back in perspective, that's the right thing to do. It's just those verticals that you actually didn't need to do. Another place, a place, let me say, where the perspective feels like it might be off a little bit. It doesn't look wrong to me until I look a little closer at the drawing, but do you notice how this line, which I'm assuming should go back to the vanishing point, and this line, which is the line for the bottom of the entertainment stand, which should also be going back to the vanishing point, they're going 2 different places. They're basically 2 different angles. So I'm going to erase my 2 lines And do you see how those are sort of crossing over each other and conflicting with each other? So that's sort of a sign for me that one of those did not go to the right place. Here's what I think you were thinking. I think you were probably drawing, you had maybe you did the floor later, but you were drawing this entertainment stand, and maybe you wanted it to be wider and it was coming out really skinny or something, and so you changed it. Or this is correct, I have no idea where your vanishing point is, and then these floor lines, you just kind of put them in without really drawing them back to the vanishing point. So one or the other to me was the issue, but they are conflicting with each other. So that's what I wanted to.
It's actually the floor because it is my draw. I just like, I think
You just drew the floor in.
Yeah, I
Okay.
draw the floor after, so I think it doesn't come in with the vision point.
Okay, so you understand. So good.
Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to point out to you is when things are leaving, and here's an example of when you did this correctly. And a few of you guys had this problem, so I'm trying to tell multiple people about this. When something is, leaning, let's say, against the wall, but it leaves the wall, you're leaving with straight lines, right? It's straight out, horizontal lines, and then it has an ending. That's what's happening right here with your door. Here's the molding, and it's actually coming out of the wall and leaving. You did it correctly here, but down here, it gets a little bit funny. It needs to come out and have some dimension. Then it goes back to the vanishing point, and then maybe this is where it goes back in. Does that make sense? So, okay,
Yeah.
now as I look at the way you drew it, it actually, this line that you drew, you should be shading on the other side of this. So see how you shaded over here on this side? You actually would want to have drawn that coming out a little bit, because that's the side of the molding. I'm drawing it a little bigger than what you drew, just so everybody can see it. Then the molding would go, down, and then it would come back up to be the front side of the molding that's facing out. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. And this line needs to also go, I'm guessing your vanishing point is somewhere like here. So the door, or the door trim, also needs to be heading down towards that same vanishing point. Here is one more example of it. It's the side of this television.
It's a mirror.
I think it's mirror.
Yeah.
A mirror.
Yeah.
So as it comes out, I don't know if he did this in the video. I have to think this is right. But see, the side
Yeah, he
should
did.
come. He did do it with horizontal lines. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. So these lines, it's correct that this goes to the vanishing point, and these two lines are going two different directions, but these should also go back to the vanishing point. But on the side where this comes out, it comes out horizontally. Let's look at this one.
Christian's here then, Professor.
Great. Okay. So Christian, I'll mark you as being late but not absent. Thanks, Mandy. Okay. So in this image, so I'm not going to go over everything again that I said, like as far as the door trim and some things like that. Cabinet doors need to be vertical, remember, like I discussed in the other one. Here, you didn't draw any dimension into the mirror, so you didn't have a chance to, make that correct or incorrect. The perspective that's there looks good. The top, this is your horizon line, and the top of your door looks exactly the same. It's horizontal. So I know that's not correct because I know it's above your horizon line. So that means from the front side of the door, the higher side, the side closer to us, you need to be traveling, oh my, you need to be traveling down towards the vanishing point. So you would have a slight angle downward on those lines. Over here, here's one that concerns me. Do you see this traveling up at an angle up? Those cabinets or I think that's actually a row of windows, if I'm remembering right. Those would need to be at this angle, angling down toward the vanishing point. And then this is the inside of a desk. And this also, actually that and this, they are not traveling back in space. If you look at the original video, that's a flat side to that cabinet. So those would be drawn with no angles at all. They would be horizontal lines. And then these lines that you have drawn horizontal, those are the lines that are traveling back in space. They would look more like this. So here's the top of the desk, and it would need to look more like that, you know, with lines traveling to the vanishing point, but a flat plane here. So take a look at that. Revisit that video if this is your drawing, and investigate which lines are lines that go to the vanishing point and which are not. If there's a plane that is parallel to the back wall, like this plane or this plane, there's not perspective acting on that. That line that's just a rectangle. But if there's something that is traveling back in space to the vanishing point, it needs to have angles that are not, you know, straight. They're angles that travel back to the vanishing point. Okay? And one more. This one looked good until I picked up my ruler and tried to find where the vanishing point was. So in here, I'm just going to draw a couple lines. You know, I was trying to find the vanishing point, and some of these are more or less kind of agreeing with each other. When I got to the bed, this line was kind of the one that was a red flag for me. Like it went over here. It didn't go close to the vanishing point. So I think you were sort of thinking, I know what the bed is supposed to look like, but you weren't sure exactly how to get it to go to the vanishing point. In this case, with the bed where it is and the vanishing point where it is, and I'm imagining the vanishing point is in there somewhere, here's what probably got you. This would be the line that travels to the vanishing point right here. So your bed, you know how I just got done telling you guys there would be no vertical lines? That's a vertical line because it's directly down from the vanishing point. Let me draw your bed as if it had been a foot longer. Let's say it came out to here. Here's the little leg. This is the front leg now. This would be the angle back or something like it. Yeah, that would be the angle back to the vanishing point. So you would actually have an angle going this direction that would show the end of the bed, and you would not see this back leg would not show up at all. You would just be seeing the top of the bed and the side of the bed. Does that make sense? So that's a place where it can sort of play with your head a little bit, is if you put something like, let's say you hung a poster on the wall. I don't know why you would, I'm sorry, on the ceiling. I don't know why you'd do that. But here's your poster. You know, there's an angle on this side, but it's exactly above the vanishing point. So it's actually a vertical line that happens right there. Okay. Those are all of the images that I was planning to talk about. Does anyone have an additional question about something I didn't cover, or would like me to go back to one of the images or anything like that?
The only question I had, Casey, was what kind of a pencil did they use in the video? I would love to use that pencil.
Is this in the last video where they drew the room?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Oh my, I don't know.
It looked like a layout pencil.
Like a what?
I thought it was a layout pencil, but I could be wrong.
Okay. I just thought maybe somebody knew. Yeah.
Does anybody know? I don't even know what a layout pencil is. let's see. Oh, uh, hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I would have just told you, oh, well, that's a 4B. It's a
Oh, okay.
4B. Looks like just a graphite drawing pencil. Maybe it's more, maybe there's more to it than that, but that's the hardness of it.
Okay.
Um,
Okay. Okay.
now that's a pen.
Yeah, that is a pen, I think. Yeah.
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 But the pencil, which I would tell you never, ever, ever mix pen and pencil, but there he goes doing it. So that's like a bad video. Bad video. Okay. So, but yeah, I would just say it's a 4B graphite pencil, but it could be some other type of something in there. Did you just notice it getting really black, or what did you like about it?
I just like the way he was able to control the lines with it.
Well, yeah, that's probably just him being a gangster. I think the drawing a straight line with any pencil is pretty difficult. I was just using a ruler. I was using my Apple Pencil drawing on my iPad, and I pulled out a ruler to get, when I was
Right.
trying to make some straight lines. If my dad were teaching this class, he would have not had you use a ruler and just hand draw those lines straight and say, you need to figure out how to do it. You need to practice and get used to it. He and I argue about this, and my defense to that is that we're learning the concept of it, and if we mix the just trying to grasp it with your squiggly lines, it can get kind of ugly. So I'm sacrificing the hand-drawn lines, although I really think you should do that. And there are some awesome YouTube videos. I hope we get to them, but they're all hand-drawn, and they're this kind of like straight but a little bit squiggly line, and they freehand the entire drawing, and they just do a great job at it. So you should get there, but I'm trying to make sure you understand it and can be precise, and then freehanding it once you get it is what I think people should be doing. Yeah. Okay. Hopefully I've showed everything I need to show there. So let's stop that. And then if there's no other perspective questions, I'd like to move on to talking about your still life. I didn't do this in the first class. Maybe I shouldn't do it in this class either. There were some cool Pinterest pictures I wanted to show you guys. Let's look at them. Let's look real quick. So you're going to see everything I've ever searched for on my Pinterest as I pull this up. Oh, it's not pulling up. Maybe you're off the hook. No, here we go. So I'm not going to show you all my fall and winter clothing styles. Perspective. Okay. So I thought I would show you a couple of just cool perspective images, because I think these are, Pinterest just has the lockdown on them, at least ones people have drawn recently. So this is just a simple box. This is actually something I wish I had included in your videos and asked you to draw at the end, but it just gives you a sense of sort of how you might take that simple form of a box and break it down into more complex forms. Can you guys, I know they're not big pictures, but hopefully you can see them okay. Here's a picture of a photograph, and then, them drawing it in 2-point perspective in pencil. So I thought it was cool to see, sort of how that translated. This was just an image to sort of show that, like, the understanding, drawing the figure, how you might think of that. And this isn't drawn with vanishing points, but you can see that sort of sense of a structure or a box in there in the figure, and then how it translates or transitions to a, softer form. Here, this one's too small to really appreciate. This is some crazy stuff. We're not going to get into this, but I wanted you to see like the overhead drawing of something, and then the way they're sort of projecting that, dropping it onto like a horizon line. And there's just ways you can go pretty deep with linear perspective. Here's another one where you see, you know, the overhead view, then how they basically drop those points and the elevations of the drawing and actually make it into a perspective drawing. So all of that is measured and calculated and precise, and we will not get into that in this class, but I thought it's just interesting to know it's out there. These are crazy drawings. Look at that. Did I show that in the video? I can't remember, but look at how important of a role line variation plays in this drawing. How do you know something is closer and farther away? Well, some things are bigger, some things are farther, some things are lower on the page, some things are higher on the page, and as they get higher and closer to the horizon line, they go away. But what's really giving you the impact in this drawing is the line variation. Heavier lines for the things closer to you and lighter lines as things move farther away. And this is actually a more subtle version of that. Do you see how heavy and dark the lines are that are closer to you, and then how they get looser and more gestural up here in the corner? It's not just that they're lighter, they're also a little looser. They're saying, hey, you don't need to stay here for any length of time. You just need to understand this is the support. This is the rest of the drawing. This is what's happening back here, but you don't need to know any more than what I'm showing you. You don't need to spend any more time back there. I think that's a really important thing for you to understand with perspective, but also as we segue into gesture drawing. Are there any other? I kind of like this picture because sometimes I do projects where, more in my 2D class, where we do a drawing of something in linear perspective, and I say, well, you got to add greenery, and people just freak out because they can't. It's really hard to go from boxes, you know, to something organic. But I like the way they sort of started these as shapes, you know, seeing the bigger shape and then breaking it down into the more complex forms. Check this out.
Whoa.
Right? Like,
Mhm.
now that you guys have been doing some of this stuff, oof, that's complicated, right?
Yeah, it is. I don't mind admitting that I was exhausted after doing those because I don't think in boxes, like it's difficult.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's not right. I know.
Exhausting,
And I think this is like so much the way I would love for you guys to think about all shapes.
yeah.
You know, the way this is right here. Even if you don't draw this way every time, I can tell you I do not draw this way. But if you understand the ellipses that are happening, you know, and the way they're turning in space, if you understand that one cylinder is passing through another cylinder, you know, if you can understand all that sort of underlying structure, that's going to be a powerful tool for you. You know, if you could think of a spray bottle like this, you know, like, okay, I see a box at the bottom, I see a piece at the top, that will be awesome for you.
I once read a book when I was younger about freehand graphical design,
Oh.
and that fits in exactly to this, like freehand design and drafting. Those are good buzzwords to look up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, freehand design and drafting, you said?
Yeah, at least that was the book that
Okay.
it was called. Yeah.
Well, I think it's I think that's a great idea. I think maybe I went too far back here. Let's see if we can get where am I? Oh, my boards. Oh, so you are going to get to see everything. Perspective. Okay. Let's see if, here's just like a awesome drawing where you see kind of all the divisions of space, and there's technical ways to get tiles, and there's technical ways to make the arches get smaller as they go back in space. It's not that hard. I usually teach that. We may get to it. But then here's a painting that it's small, but I mean, look at that. They had to understand linear perspective to get there. And then maybe that's it. Maybe that's all I want to show you. So I love this. Okay, this is another one that's just like, if you could have this in your head as the way you approach any form, you know, this is a really complicated form. But if you could understand that when you look at something like this real finished, there's the finished one, this finished drawing on the bottom, if you could understand that every drawing needs to start with these top two things, with this basic, more simplified version. That will go a long way in your success in this class. Let me go to I have another page that's drawing. And I just feel like there's some pictures in here I want to show you too. So this is real loose and kind of hard to see, but the artist's name is Gunnar Norman. And I love the combination of clearly an understanding of perspective, and a really heavy buildup of line. So the understanding of space, but also it feels kind of quick and maybe a little bit gestural to me. I mean, when I say gesture, I usually think of like looser, more curved lines, but I guess gestural in the sense that it's not overly committal. It's not fleshing out tons of detail. It's just getting you those initial kind of senses or impressions of the space. Here's just a couple of gestures that I liked. Rooster. It's just beautiful marks, a little stylized. Like you can tell this person has a different style of line than this person, right? And some of those marks are flourishy. Like some of that's just a little over the top and not necessary. But it gives you a sense of sort of the speed of the mark they're using, and that's important. As you're gesturing, one of the first things I'm going to ask you to do is make some spiral marks just to show form, and like just making up the form. And do you see how these kind of accomplish that? How they give you a sense of sort of some roundness, like an organic form you could hold in your hand. Just keep that in the back of your mind. Here's a Giacometti I think I've already showed you guys. Look at these. So think of how to translate linear perspective and ellipses to still life. This is it. This is a really beautiful example of that. Okay. Maybe we'll leave. Oh, I like this one. Let's look at this. This is, again, we're not doing the figure right now, but do you see some marks that are sort of curvy and sort of showing the motion of the figure, but then some very stiff boxes sort of working out the forms of the figure? And here's one more that's just a great example of that. You can see how they started gesturally, worked in some of those boxes, and then arrived at a figure at the end. Oh, and how much fun is this? Those are great. Those are really loose and gestural. I'm saving that. Okay. So I have a PowerPoint I wanted to show you as we move into gesture drawing. And I know you guys have not gotten to do drawing yet, but I promise the bulk of the semester is going to be you drawing and me just giving you feedback. So hang in there for a couple more images. Let's see. Share PowerPoint. Okay, so I'll try to move through these kind of quickly. Are we full screen? Are we good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
and you can see it? All right. So gesture drawing. This, I think, is just an excellent drawing that shows conviction in its marks and feels sort of finished in its own right. Although it was a study, obviously, probably for a painting or something else like that. The speed of these marks is what, if you do nothing else when you're gesture drawing today, I would like you to match the speed. And I'd also like you to imagine that they never picked up their Vine charcoal, that it stayed sort of on the paper the whole time, just feeling its way around. Look where the knee started and where the knee ended up. So with each pass, my guess is these marks became a little darker and it became a little more definitive, in terms of where the figure would end up. I think I see a head turned up and then the head turned down is what they settled on. Whenever you were watching me draw and do my gesture drawing last time, you saw me kind of using it to lay out a page. Over here, with this drawing, you're looking at sort of a planning for a single form that probably fit into a more complicated image. So it was a study, it was a some initial sort of concern for how this figure is going to show up in probably a later piece. So to get the dancing motion right and all of those things, they're working that out before they're putting paint to canvas. So I wish I could remember this scientist's name. I bet it's even in my notes if I just would click out of this. But this scientist guy did these. This looks like kind of a torture device, but it's two cameras that they trained on a person's eyes so they could track where your eyes go when you look at an image. So here's an example of like a painting that they showed people, and then what their eyes did as they moved. It's 3 minutes of recording. So in 3 minutes, this is how their eyes traveled around the page and what they looked at. Over here, you can see there were some different ways they handled it. So this is just like, what do people see when they look at an image? So where does their attention stay? It stays on the people.
Mhm.
And what part of the people?
Their faces.
Their faces, yeah,
Heads.
their heads, right. So in this slide, you're actually seeing they gave them some prompts as to what to look at. So the first one was a free examination, just people looking at this image. The next one, they said estimate the material circumstances. So what happens? You see the time and energy being spent kind of not on the people, on the artwork in the background, just trying to find other stuff in the room. Give the ages of the people down here. Where are they? They're just on the faces, just hanging out.
Mhm.
Says look at what the family had been doing before they came. I don't think they have any idea what the family was doing, and they're looking for clues in the room, like is there spilled milk, is there like broken glass, what happened. Remember the clothes worn by the people. So now you still see them looking at their faces, but there's definitely a little more attention to the clothing. Remember the position of people and objects in the room. This feels like kind of this whole looking at the whole page. And then estimate how long the visitors had been away from the family. So they're looking at their faces for some dynamics. I'm like, oh, you wound me that you stayed away so long, right? So I think the way these are laid out could be sort of an example of the way you might want to scan your still life, where your attention and your Vine charcoal should be on the page. The Vine charcoal should be wherever your eyes are on the still life, right? It's kind of following what you're looking at. And what you should not be doing is something like give the ages of the people. You shouldn't be finding like 4 little points that you care about and just drawing those. You want to be more like this, remember the position of people and objects in the room, because that's what this is about, right? This is like, get the layout, get the position of all the objects in the space. So if we had just asked you to look at something, you would have scanned the page properly. So don't fall into a trap of, fixating on individual items. I'd also like to point out that this was probably what you would have done if you had just been allowed to look at your still life. You probably would have kept moving your eye around the still life continually. You wouldn't have said, oh, I'm just going to stare at this apple. I'm going to stare at the apple, and I'm going to keep staring at the apple, and I'm not going to look at anything else. But once you start drawing, and once you do, and we may not even get to this today, doing a group of objects, but we'll be dealing, if we deal with one object, we're dealing with the whole object. And if we deal with a group of objects, we're dealing with the whole group. So don't let yourself all of a sudden just be drawing an apple and not moving around the page. Our gesture drawings are not going to be longer than 3 minutes. So in 3 minutes, you got to hit this whole page. So anyway, this is just to sort of tell you your eyes are capable of it. Now you just have to not slow your hand down. You got to keep your hand moving with everything else. So this, I'm not going to talk too long about this because I think I already talked about it with the Pinterest images, which is like, if you can get this in your head, thinking about the structure of the form, this is the more powerful way to approach drawing any form. Don't outline. don't start outlining things. This drawing is not about an outline. It's about showing the ellipses, showing the space the whole way around the form. It's giving, a little rectangle for every area, every inch of the surface. And there is not an over attention to the contours. So don't let yourself do that either. Here's some pictures of gesture drawings. I would guess just student images. Some of them are from my class, some of them aren't. But you can see not committing to the objects, but trying to answer the question of what is where. Where are these things? Roughly how much space do they take up? Here's one where you can see this is full. This is busy. Remember I was saying like you get your own language. I don't fully understand the language of the person drawing this, but I thought I'd point out to you the skinny little cone over here on this side of the page. Do you see how it started down here? And I know it started down there because this is less developed. It got taller, it got even a little taller, and it moved a little to the left. So they did not commit to a shape so much that they couldn't keep moving it as they learned something about the rest of the space and where that shape fit into the arrangement. I again just want to point out kind of more finished here and less finished back here, and moderately worked on, but still a little confusing. Like I don't know if this is the back of the cow or if that's her dress. Maybe the artist doesn't know either, but there's a lot of loose mark making that still leaves a lot up to interpretation, but at the same time I feel like I understand the form and I understand what I'm looking at, and you're allowed to leave some things that are less important a little bit looser if they're further in the background. Here is a little bit of value being built up, but still to me pretty gestural, and just showing you kind of the development, maybe like the next step after the gesture drawing. Here is I think I have the planning sketch and then a painting. They don't match, but they are by the same artist. So you can see what his planning sketches would have looked like and then what a painting would have looked like. So I don't think that he really left anything loose in this final painting. This feels pretty complete and finished in all areas of the page. But he saw a need to start this way, a little looser, laying out the page. So I'm trying to make the case for starting loose, if you couldn't tell. A drawing by, I believe, Da Vinci on the left, although maybe not, and then Rembrandt on the right. And you can see, areas that become more detailed, like the drapery in her clothing. But look how loose the environment around her is, and light. Over here, just some really beautiful lines. I think Rembrandt has the lockdown on the nicest lines when he's drawing gesturally. I don't think you can look at enough of those. A lot of horses. I don't know, maybe because horses are always moving, it's harder to really nail them down. But I love all these multiple legs of the horse building up. Here's some other, I don't know if this was a student drawing. I'm sure it was on the left. But another really nice drawing of a horse. You can see lighter marks and then marks that get heavier as they get more sure of themselves. Even a chair, it doesn't have to be a living thing to have a gesture drawing done of it, but the gesture drawing does give the first impression of the object. It says how big you want it to be on the page, and it says sort of what that object is doing in the most simplest, quickest impression and stating of that object that you can do with a pencil. Just very few lines, well placed, can communicate a lot about form. There is not a lot here, but I think you understand it. And I think it's quite nice. And some of you guys told me you've drawn, some of you told me you haven't, but for those of you who have drawn, think about your line quality. Like when you do a drawing of something, how confident do the marks seem that you do it with? I could imagine the same exact drawing with much less confident mark making not being nearly as successful. Does that make sense? So as you do your gesture drawings, approach them with a level of confidence that you do not feel necessarily. Like fake it till you make it. let's go in with all the confidence of Rembrandt with these lines, and they may be in the wrong place and whatever, but a big part of a good gesture drawing, a big part of it is conviction. So let's dive in like you're teaching the class and you're just like going to town with those lines. And look at where in this one, look at where the hat started out, up like this, just a simple oval. And look, it's now turned down and slumping and has some really beautiful details in it. And I just love this one. And look how thin the line started and how thick the lines become by the time he's really sure of himself. He had a language worked out with himself, Rembrandt.
And is there like a shadow on his eyes? Is that what that is?
Here?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably here is some hatching and
Yeah.
cross hatching, building up some shadow, and then the eyes becoming even darker. Yeah.
That's really spectacular.
I think so. I love like this little thing, whatever that is, hanging off. It's just beautiful.
Mhm.
Disney drawings.
Mm-hmm.
You've seen things like this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like step by step build build up a thing. Well, there is something to that because they start with an axis line that shows the movement of the whole form that they want to include. Then they're breaking the figure down into the simplest forms.
Mm-hmm.
Then maybe starting to give some contours and not even thinking about the hair or the shoes or the fabric, until the very end. If they had set out to draw Dopey or whoever this is by starting with the head, then drawing the nose, then the arm, then the hand, then the back, I don't think they would have landed on a figure with that much movement in it. I think they had to have started with a big swooping curving axis line,
Then from there, yeah.
breaking it down to these circles, and then the first things we see, the facial expression and those kind of things that we go to first, those are the last things. This guy over here, right? Probably grumpy.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy to say, okay, draw grumpy, and you start with this face, but they had to draw those round, the bulbousness of the body and the head and the hat and all of that. And then the last things, the icing on the cake, the writing the name on the icing on the cake. I mean, that's what they're doing when they're drawing the facial features. So that is the last stuff that comes into play. So look at how many circles and look at how light the circles are and then how they build up to get darker.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. That's what you want to do. Just some more kind of just to point out how few lines can communicate, so much. And abstract art, maybe you can have a slight appreciation more for things like this abstract expressionist painting by Joan Mitchell, probably from the late 1950s, early 60s. These feel like gestural marks, not representational. That's what we're doing, right? We're doing representational gesture drawing where we're trying to communicate an image. This is non-representational, but it feels to me like it's about the energy of a mark, the same way this does. Do you guys see that? Mm-hmm. So maybe just to round out our context of how gesture fits into things. I mean, this is how it fit in the 60s or 50s. This is a little later. This is Cecily Brown, probably the 90s, early 2000s. She did a lot of paintings of orgies, and that's, I believe, what this is, but you don't see, some of them are a bit more graphic, but you really just see kind of the piling and a very gestural feeling to these forms. Going back in time now, another just kind of side by side for you. Again, these two pieces don't correspond to each other exactly, but this is the grisaille stage of a painting. So it's when before you add the color, they would do just to get the values right, maybe just with brown or with brown and white, and you can see some of that colder white in there. That's, by the way, why we never use a white Conte crayon on a charcoal drawing, because it does something like that, where you have two whites in the picture. You have like a cold white, and then you look down here at the horse's butt, and there's like a warm white. You don't want that. I mean, in this, they did, because this is painting. It's a whole different story, but it's an underpainting. So the movement and, you know, all of that went into this very highly detailed, finished, you know, beginning of a painting. I think it started somewhere like this, you know, with this kind of movement being sketched out in some planning sketches. I'm going to just skip through because I want to get to one or two more pictures. Just quickly, this also, I think, a Da Vinci drawing. Very finished to me, detailed hands, but look where the hand started down here, you know, and then partway through the drawing, and I mean, this guy was good, you know, Da Vinci, he knew what he was doing. So he couldn't get the model to hold still. I don't think that was it. I think it was a compositional choice. I think the hands were, if the two of them had both been drawn this low on the page, there's all this empty space up here. You know, by the way, there's like a little old man face that I think he drew over here. But, you know, at some point in the drawing, he had sketched it in and said, nope, not working, move the hand. So I think that's pretty cool. I think it's pretty cool to have started the drawing, have it in there. I know Da Vinci could have drawn that hand spectacularly right where it was. But he made decisions for more than just that. He was moving things around even as the drawing was in progress. And look how finished that fingernail is, you know, and that those knuckles. And look at that. Look at the lines to show that arm. Last image, Sargent, John Singer Sargent, 1880s, maybe 1890s, early 1900s, somewhere in there. And he I mean, you look up Sargent, you've seen some of his work, even if you don't know it. He's really popular and kind of the classic, like, beautiful oil painter. And I want you to see the facility that he drew this portrait with. This head, this boy's head, is finished. It's beautiful. It's got the little highlights on the eyeballs. The lips are beautiful, the nose. And then look down at the stripes on the shirt and how those are painted. You know, one swipe, that is not a 5-hour stripe. That's one quick mark of the brush. So is the fingers. Look at that, you know, red tips on the fingers, a little white light. That's the hand. Look how the coat or shirt, whatever, turns into the background. Just kind of blends. Career-wise, you know, I can say I've done some paid portraits. You want them done. You know, you agreed to a certain amount of money. You want the money. You want the painting to be good. You want the people to be happy. And what the people care about is the face. And as long as you understand the rest of the space and it's coming across, they don't need a highly rendered pinky finger, especially not if you can get the face to look like that. So where are you going to spend your time? You know, you're a starving artist. You need to move on to the next painting. What do? You get the face to look right, and the rest is beautiful. You know, the rest has an energy and a movement to it, but it is not detailed. So just to remind you, you can have the focus area, and then you can have other things that are not the focus area that are a lot looser. And these, I would call these painterly marks, you know, very gestural. Okay, so I see that some people may have been writing in the chat. Was any of that to me? Because I didn't read it. Oh, I see Christian saying.
It was about mounts and easels.
Okay, all right. So do I need to respond to it, or are you guys good? Do I need to read all this?
I think they're just trying to figure out where to find them because they're
okay.
Yeah, so I think they have websites, and I bought my mount from Amazon if anybody wanted to know.
Yeah. Oh, so maybe Kirti, if anybody wants to see that, you could share it in the links. And
Yeah, I can.
I also posted some stuff on D2L from Dick Blick. So, okay. So what I would like you guys to do as I get set up to draw, I'd also like you to get set up to draw, which I realize is going to be a little bit involved today. But hopefully if you have all your stuff, you know, this is our first go at it, right? So you need to go to your easel, turn on your second device. You're going to need your Vine charcoal and your newsprint, and that's what I've got set up here is my newsprint and my Vine charcoal. You might need your clips, definitely your clipboard to attach the drawing pad to. Try to set up your second device where I'm seeing the most square, nice view of your drawing pad that I can, but don't be offended if I still give you some feedback on that. Oh, we didn't look at your still lives. We didn't look at your setup. That's okay. Go ahead and get set up, and we can talk about that later. All right, I will be right back with you in just 1 second. All right, I'm back, guys. Just a reminder, you probably only want sound on one device.
Can you add the number for the Zoom?
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt.
That's okay. Also, oh, and the code is draw. Also, it's ideal that you can sort of look back at my screen and then go back to your drawing, because I'm going to want to demonstrate for you and then you'll draw. So I'm going ahead and getting my stuff set up, and I'll demo for you in just a second. Let's connect here. So guys, take a look at your view of your easel, and like basically take a look at what my view is going to be. If you're way off to the side, that's not ideal. It would be ideal, like I said, if the camera is as close to being at right beside your head as possible. So the further away the easel is, that's harder for me to see. If it's way off to one side or the other, that's harder to see. And just as I'm setting myself up, when my camera comes on and you see my view, I want you to see that and take a look at what it would take for you to get that same view happening in your arrangement. and I'll have that in just a second here. Please feel free to speak up if you're having any questions about things or you want to know how you're looking. And I know this is not going to be perfect the first day, but I'm going to give you feedback as if you have everything, and you can tell me, hey, my mount's not here yet. That's why it looks like this. But that's what I'm going to do just because I can't remember where everybody's at. Okay. And I've actually got a little work to do on my setup, so it's not perfect either. But take a look at my screen. I'm going to share it. I guess I'm still getting it set up, but you guys should be able to see my still life off to the side. I know it's a little bit on the big side today. And then you should also be seeing my screen. If it's too small, I can try to turn and make it bigger. But can you guys see it okay? And can you see how big my drawing pad is on the, you know, the little window that I have for you? All right, so give me your attention for just a second and let me demonstrate gesture drawing for you. I'm going to do 2 quick drawings, and then you guys will start drawing, and I'll give you some feedback. So I just want to remind you sort of what my arrangement is and what my objects are. I'm just going to draw some individual objects. So I'm going to just go to sharing only my my screen that has my actual drawing pad so that you can hopefully see it a little larger. Did that make a difference, by the way?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, so let me draw for you. So guys, you can just stop whatever you're doing for a minute while I draw, and then you can get back to your setup. So I've got clips here to hold my drawing pad up and to keep the paper on. You do not need or want to tear your paper out of the pad. You want to keep the paper in the pad so you have cushion underneath you, so you don't get a weird texture with your charcoal. When you go to hold your vine charcoal, and now mine went missing, when you go to hold your vine charcoal, you're going to hold it like an artist, not like a writer. So here's how the writer would hold it. And then they'd have a lot of control in their fingers for how to actually make a line, but that's not what we're doing. So what you want to do is hold it. Imagine, I do this in class with everybody all the time. I hold it from the bottom and it comes up, and they hold it like almost like it's an extension of 2 fingers. And really what it is it's an extension of your whole arm. So your whole arm is going to be drawing. So for your first drawing, I want you to just draw some lines, draw some marks. I feel my paper moving around. Can you guys tell it's moving around? So I may need more clips. You should have gotten multiple clips in your drawing pad, drawing kit, so use those. So I'm flattening out the paper. I'm going to keep drawing. If you get a little snag, sometimes there's a little piece of grit in your Vine charcoal and you'll start to feel it like dragging on the paper really badly. You can just come over here and kind of try to scrub it off till it breaks off. Remember how I said remember those kind of sausage looking things to show three-dimensional form? Look how I can think about almost like a slinky or something. You know, I'm trying to show the form with these lines. So maybe play with doing that a little bit. You know what doesn't show any form at all? This. That's just, I don't know, Dr. Seuss lines. It's not showing you any kind of cylinder or anything. So, you know, instead, does that show maybe a little bit more form? What do you have to do to communicate some of that? Make lines that go all the way across the page, fill the page with your marks. Try varying light lines, how to make a light line, and then how dark of a line and heavy of a line can you make. So that's the first page, as you're just going to do that. I'll let you do it in a minute. Let me move on to the gesture drawing, so in case my video quits, I've gotten to demo for you at least once. So now I'm going to draw a pear that I have sitting here. So the pear is upright, but it leans a little bit to the side. Look how big my piece of paper is, and look how big my pear is. This is like a drawing about one item, and it's going to be big on the page. So here's my pear. Here it is broken into two distinct forms. I started with the axis line, and I could see it leaning, and actually the stem kind of even leans this way. The footprint of this, the way it sits on the ground, I could indicate that. I could talk a little more about where it sort of transitions from being the larger part on the bottom to this other part on the top. I'm looking down on it so I can actually see where the stem attaches to the pear, and I can draw sort of a donut shape to indicate, you know, the way it curves back down to get to that stem. I'm not drawing pears, you know, I'm not drawing like any pear. I'm drawing the pear that I'm looking at. So I'm trying to pay really close attention to where that sort of bulges out on one side, where there's sort of almost like a lump or an angle to it down here at the bottom. I don't want to get too fixated on anything having to do with the contour. I want to wrap around the object. And look, here's what I really do not want to do. Take a look at this type of line. Right? I don't want a hairy pear. I don't want a fuzzy pear. So I don't want to hack away at it with little weird marks. You want to build up with confidence marks that go the whole way around the form. And whenever you get done doing that and you've run out of things to draw, step back. Don't keep drawing. Back up and look at your drawing and say, does that look right? If it doesn't, go up and quickly, energetically, I've got my pear's a little bigger on the left-hand side. We just lost the video. Oh, because I'm getting a phone call. Okay, let's see if we're back. Sorry about that. Oh no. I even did the do not disturb setting. You guys are going to have to show me what I'm doing wrong here, because I said do not disturb.
That only works for notifications. I don't think it works for calls.
It only works what?
For notifications.
Oh, I don't. Well, that doesn't make sense to me.
You can set it to do work for calls as well, because I have it on for work.
Oh, so I just don't have it set the right way?
Yeah, you can go in settings and change what gets notifications when you have do not disturb on.
I thought I had done that. Well, that's frustrating. And now here I'm totally gone. Well, let me talk for just a second while I try to fix this. So, you know, you want to back up and think, and then you want to go back to your drawing and keep drawing. So don't just sit there and you know, hack away at this drawing without any thought of what do I really need to do. Okay, let's see. Let's try this. Okay, I think we're back. So this would be where I would back up, try to make some better maybe decisions about, you know, do I have this, maybe this, right now this is a bit too upright, it really leans a bit more, and then back up again. I'm actually looking at my screen because it's like backing up since I can't stand up. You guys are all required to be standing to do this drawing unless you have a doctor's excuse. So you should all be standing, as I mentioned last time. But my excuse, I told you, is I'm pregnant and I can't teach the class if I'm not at the computer. So I'm sitting even though I always stand every semester. So let me do one more drawing for you, one more form. That was an organic one. Now I'll do a man-made form. Oh, and by the way, I just really botched tearing that piece of paper, but the way you actually want to tear a piece of paper off of your newsprint pad is to grab it at the very bottom corner and lift up, and without a clip on the paper like I have right now, you would just lift up and tear with confidence and it will tear off beautifully. Okay, so the other item I'm going to draw for you is this crock pot. Even though it's a cylinder, I'm still drawing it as a circle at first, just to say this is how big I want this thing to be. This is the space I want it to take up. I know it has some depth, so I'm thinking of it sort of as a cylinder, but sort of not a really straight cylinder. I know you guys can't see it, but you sort of stared at it for a long time last class, so I think you're okay. I'm looking at how big the knob thing is, but I'm not over committing to it, you know, as far as the lid goes. Right now, I need to kind of stop and just ask myself, is this the right proportions? And in fact, it's a bit too wide for what's really in front of me. So it should be a little taller and skinnier. So I'm going to just pull it in a little bit. I know from, you know, what we've learned about ellipses that my ellipse that's further away from my eye level is going to be a bit more open, while this ellipse up higher is going to be closer to being flat, you know, to being a straight line. And now that knob looks a little funny, or knob handle. So I'm going to sit it back down on the surface a little bit more. You know, once I've gone over this and gotten the general information, I can start to get a little more detail with that. So here I've got the handles that maybe I'll include at this point, and I'll probably back up and try to make a decision about, you know, are those in the right place? How does the lid sort of rest? Is it the same size as the pot underneath it, or is it a little bigger? It's actually a little smaller. So as this pot comes in, the lid gets even a little bit smaller. The handle now doesn't really look centered anymore, so I may need to shift that over. It's almost like its own little cylinder, so I'll try to explain that a bit more, and maybe just a little more information about how I'm seeing those handles. This one wraps around the front while the other one sort of disappears around the back. Sticks out maybe a little bit more than that. And then I want maybe a little bit heavier line to just explain the bottom of the, I know, she called me again, to explain the bottom of the pot. So why don't you guys draw?
When you have do not disturb on, if they call more than 3 times, it'll start going through.
Oh, well, then maybe it's an emergency. I'll have to text her if I can find time. Okay, so go ahead and let's start doing some gesture drawing. It just frazzled me. The whole phone call frazzled me. So go ahead and start doing some gesture drawing. I'm going to turn off my video. Do you guys have any questions about gesture drawing? Draw big, not life size, big, like one object per whole page. Kirti, what are you thinking?
Just pick anything out of the still life and just.
Yeah, so pick an individual form out of your still life and start to draw it. If you have glass objects, typically I won't recommend that in here, but today glass would be fine because you can see the whole way through. It's like cheating, right? So, and if you're looking at your objects saying, I don't have any objects right now, go grab a stuffed animal, go grab, you know, things out of your kitchen, just grab a couple objects because I want you to do several quick drawings. You know, I don't want you to spend 15 minutes doing a gesture drawing. That's not what a gesture drawing is. So you're going to want to kind of change out every minute or so to a new object.
So
Okay?
standing?
All right.
Go ahead, Christian.
You have to be standing?
Standing. Must be standing. Your easel must be adjusted to standing. Everything is standing.
Just adjusted it to sitting down. Dang it.
Yeah, I told you. I gave you fair warning. Didn't I talk about it last class?
Yeah.
I said everybody's got to be standing, so be standing. Okay, so now even if you guys have a full screen, I'm just gonna have to kind of click on you to try to see you a little bigger. So I'll just pick on the people who are drawing first. Joel, looks like you're just getting started. Do you have your camera mount yet? Sorry, I know I'm stopping you. You might have to unmute. Oh, I don't know what you have to do.
Sorry.
Hey, that's okay. How you doing?
Good. Yeah. It's my camera's on that porcelain. It's porcelain teapot. I know my drawing doesn't look like a teapot, but I'm trying to figure it out.
Okay. Okay, great. Do you have is your camera like? Are you still waiting for your mount, or do you have your mount for this camera?
Mount, yeah. I don't know if you can like see my hand like waving in front of the still thing.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, so that's the one I'm supposed to be looking at. No. Wait.
This is the pot right here.
Oh, there you are. Oh, okay, so you've got a camera on your easel. That is awesome.
Well, no, I got my phone hooked up to like one of those little pull out dinner tables.
Okay. Yeah.
I got my computer on the actual easel.
Great. Okay. So this is really good in that I can see your still life, but I would say if anything, that's actually the view I want of your drawing pad. You know, I'd switch it up. Because basically see how the camera is like eye level on the still life?
Right.
If there's any way to get the camera, it may not be something you can solve today, and that's okay.
Yeah, I'm about to try it right now.
Okay, try it. See if you can get it up higher, like up where your face is.
Okay, I'm just gonna switch the.
Okay, and it might be that you have to use the mount to do your drawing pad and exactly. You got it.
For this thing. Use my phone for my piece.
I think that's better.
That's better? Okay. All right.
And look, you don't have to have a view of your still life, but it's awesome for me to get to see what you're looking at. Okay. You know, so that's optional, but I'm loving getting to see your still lives. Tiliana, I can see yours too. So Selena, I've got a pretty good view of where you're drawing, but I feel like I'm only seeing half the paper. Is that fair? Yeah. I think I only see half your paper, Selena. So anyway, Go ahead.
The amount that I ordered off of the website said that it was going to be delayed, so I just had to get this amount from Walmart for the time. So it's
no
like,
problem.
if I move it too much, my phone will actually fall. So I'm like trying to.
No, that's fine. Don't move it. Don't touch it. I can see enough.
Okay.
I would say those final marks you made where you started kind of coloring the thing in.
Yeah.
Don't need those. What you do need is more marks that wrap around the form.
Okay.
So, forget about those, but the same way you did your ellipses, look for more lines like that that could just go, like, imagine if you had drawn a Sharpie marker and you had drawn a lot of lines around it.
Okay.
Okay, so you're good.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay, Nate, you're still waiting on your easel, is that right? I know you're trying to unmute. Okay. Oh, oops. I think I might have accidentally remuted you. Okay.
Yeah, I'm still waiting. I'm sorry for the.
That's okay. That's fine. I can see your drawing pad really well. So the only thing I would say is, go ahead.
It's a rough. It's just I don't know if you can see in here. Honestly, I have no idea what this is, but I'm just trying to.
Okay. Well, I think it's good. I would say your drawing is not rough enough. I think it needs to be looser. And I think you're still holding your charcoal more like it's a pencil. Yeah, but hold it under your hand. So instead of it going up above your hand like this, like, can you see my camera? I don't know if you can.
Yes.
Yeah. Instead of holding it like this, you want it to be under your hand like this, like this.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And just try to keep your lines real loose, like one long line. Like Kirti, you too, just keep it as one long line that kind of continues. Try not to lift your actual mark, your Vine charcoal off the page. Try to keep it as one long thing. Maybe you draw a little lighter while you're trying to find a new place. Maybe you're keeping your lines lighter. Yeah, so Selena, try to draw, you know how we talked about axis lines, like with the figure, you know, a line that went down the middle? Same thing with that cross. Think about the middle. Before you start outlining it, think about what the center of it would look like. And rotate the cross. If it's facing you perfectly, I would say turn it a little bit so it gives you a harder angle to deal with. So you're not just thinking cross, you're thinking about things in front and things behind.
Okay.
Haley, I'm liking what I'm seeing, but I can't really see it that well. Are you still waiting on your mount, or is that your mount?
I'm waiting on a mount and a light. So right now
Okay.
I've got a really messed up rig going on.
Okay.
but-
Now, I saw the pictures of your setup, and I didn't get to talk about it, but the thing I was going to tell you, are you right-handed? Are you right-handed, Haley?
Yeah, I'm right-handed.
Okay, so the thing is that you have your easel off to the left. So when you're drawing, you're having to look over here like this at your setup. But what's easier is if you have your easel to the right of your setup. And also, because I saw your photos, I know that there's kind of a room behind your easel. It would be really great if your whole setup was where your easel is, and then you just scoot your easel over like 1.5 feet so that you're looking, and you never, and guys, everybody should be listening to this, you never want to have to turn your body or even turn your head to go from looking at your still life to looking at your drawing pad. So you want to be standing in a place where all you have to do is turn your eyes and look a little bit to the left to see your arrangement, and then a little bit to the right to see your drawing pad. If you're left-handed, you're special. And if you're left-handed, you actually want your easel on your left side of your body. But otherwise, everybody should have the easel to the right, the still life off to the left. So Haley, that may not be you don't need to rearrange furniture right now, but I'm just kind of pointing that out to you as you move forward with your arrangement, because you did submit some really great pictures of what you had set up. And I lost, Haley, where'd your other picture go? Did you turn it off? I'm not sure. Anyway, that's okay. You're working on stuff.
No, I have them both open.
Okay. I just can't see it, but that's all right. So communicate with me if you're looking for any more feedback. Tiliana, I really like how that drawing is going. I think you told me you were still waiting on your mount, so I'm not sure, but I like the drawing, and I think you can even move on to a new subject. I think you've kind of worked through that one really well. I would just pick a new object now.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Okay, are you still waiting on your mount?
I'm
Or is
using
this the
a
mount?
substitute mount right now. I ordered one and then it got canceled, so I had to order a new one. Yeah.
Okay. Well, for now, I can see it enough to see what you're doing, and I think it looks, I didn't see the beginning of it, but the type of marks you're making feel really good to me.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Good. Jerry, I like it in terms of scale. I think you're working big. Oh, I want to make sure everybody's working on newsprint. Is everybody working on that cheap paper? You don't need to use the good paper for this. We're going to go through a lot of paper, so use your cheap
It's
paper.
the yellow
Yeah,
one, right?
is probably. Does it say newsprint on it? If
Yeah,
it's
it
like
says newsprint.
150 pages, yeah, you're good.
I believe.
So anyway, Jerry, I'm feeling good about that. I would just say make more marks. Think of like a globe where you have the longitude and the latitude. What are marks that
Okay.
could wrap around that form in all directions to show that it's a sphere? And then if that's like it's an apple, what's happening
Yeah.
with the top of the apple? Like, how do you explain where it dips back down? How do you explain, if there's a little more of a lumpiness on one side than the other? What are some of the finer details of that? All that would be good stuff. Selena, I would move on to a new object. I think you're past gesture. If you have any round objects, maybe try to find some of those that'll let you be a little more fluid, even if they're not currently in your still life, like a coffee mug or a vase or something like that. Sergio, I like what I see. I think it looks good. It almost looks a little too good, like maybe it needs to be a little bit looser. But from this angle, I can't quite tell if there's more of a gesture drawing under that. I would say look for more lines to wrap around that picture, even not just at the top and bottom. It's a very nice drawing. I would look for it to be, for there to be a looser version of that as a gesture, and then it develops to get a little tighter the way you have it now. So I think you're good. I would move on to a new object, pick new forms. Even if some of you guys decide to get like a dirty t-shirt and you throw it in a pile. I mean, that's not an easy thing to draw, but it would just give you some very loose, marks to make. So keep the marks very loose. Don't shade. If you get to the point where you're shading or adding detail, just move on to a new subject. So you should definitely have changed objects at least maybe twice by now. So keep moving on to new forms. Joel, I think just it's getting a little bit outlined. I think you want more lines that wrap around the form, not so many that are outlining the form. So even just thinking about the spout, what lines could wrap around the spout? What lines could wrap around the body of that form?
What do you mean by that? Wrap around like that?
Yeah, so what I mean is I can demonstrate it for you if that would be helpful.
And also my camera, is that like should I get something higher? 'Cause I feel like I can see the top.
Yeah, it would be ideal if it was higher. It's not a big deal right this minute, but yes, I would like you to have something that's higher.
Okay.
So give me just a second to get my camera back. Tell you what, I might do it this way.
How does this setup look?
Oh, who's talking right now?
Caitlin?
Caitlin. Okay, Caitlin, let me demo this thing quickly and then we'll take a look at your still life. So Joel, are you with me?
Yes.
Okay, anybody who I've been saying, you need lines to wrap around your form and maybe you're sitting there going, I have no idea what you mean. I just want to demonstrate that for you. The quickest way was with Procreate, so I'm going to just do it here digitally. So can you guys see my screen? So Joel, one thing I would say about your teapot without me actually being able to see the teapot, so I'm guessing a little bit about it. There's sort of this spout that's over here. There's the lid up here. It kind of has a shape where it curves sort of up, maybe. I don't know if that's right. And then there's a handle off to the side. I don't know. And is it like a perfect profile of it? I can't remember. Oh, yeah. Oh, I can see your teapot right there. Okay. So I made it maybe a little bit too wide, but all this is part of the gesture. All this is me figuring that out. So here's the little bit on top. Here's your handle. The spout is quite large. Like if I look at how it actually joins to the teapot, it's pretty big. And then it kind of narrows down to something smaller. Do you see that? So if I were, when I'm saying wrap around it, I've done like enough to communicate it, I think, but to show the form all the way down, to show how big around it is at these different parts, and then how it's going to join on to the actual teapot, and then maybe what the base of the teapot looks like. Maybe you've got that, but how round is it here? And when does it start to change direction here? And then what does it look like up here? So kind of giving me that whole structure of the teapot with the handle. So when I was saying about the handle, same thing, like what's the orientation of how does it join to the teapot? I cannot see this. I'm making it up because I'm not close enough to look. And then how does that handle look, the whole way around? That's how I would think about fleshing out that form.
Gotcha.
Okay. And that, this may be a little over the top, but for the moment, I think it would be a nice way for you to kind of show that structure. Okay. All right. Thanks for. Oh, what'd you say, Joel?
I said thank you.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Now, sorry, I already forgot who had said, how does my thing look?
It was Caitlin.
Caitlin, what's up? What are we looking at? Your drawing or your still life? Yeah, I see. Okay.
Hold on 1 second. My Wi-Fi's.
Oh, okay. That's fine. All right, Haley, I'm liking your drawings. I'm not that close to them, but I think they could just be a little looser. I think you could, if anything, be looser. Mia, I'm feeling heavy outlines. So try to maybe even look at the same exact objects you already draw and find other lines to represent them that are not the lines you've already done. So more lines to wrap around the form like I was just demonstrating with Joel. Hopefully you were looking at that. And hold your charcoal differently. Hold your charcoal under your hand so it's like an extension of your whole arm. And it a little more, yeah, that's pretty good. Does it feel like it's too sideways? How does it feel in your hand?
That feels good.
Okay. So yeah, think more about the marks that can wrap around like the body of those forms, not just the top and the bottom. Even if you have to draw like a little scribbly snowball in the middle of them, just to find some other ways to represent the space that they're taking up. Guys, if I haven't called your name yet and talked to you, it's not because I'm ignoring you. It's just because it's really hard. Normally I'd be walking in a circle around the room, so I don't actually because your cameras all keep jumping, I don't actually know who I've gotten to and who I haven't. Mandy, what are you drawing over there? What's your object? Oh, I see a teapot, and then I see that cylinder. Is it the cylinder with the cups in it, the pencils in it? So I think the bottom of that cylinder looks very flat. I feel like I would look for more of a curve in that. And then just as far as that whole body of the cylinder, once you get the curve, and remember, the bottom curve is further away from your eye level than the top curve. So however curved the opening of your thing is on the top, you have to do it more than that on the bottom. You need even more of a curve at the bottom. When you do that, then all those marks you made in the middle of the form, those will get more curved too, because you'll be responding to sort of what you had. All right, Tiliana, I still like what I'm seeing there. Jerry, it's just too slow. It's too slow and too precise. It's not a gesture. So it's nice, but real loose, quick marks. At the point you run out of quick marks to make, just move on to another object. You don't need to spend any more time on it. Calvin, I'm not sure I can see your picture, your drawing.
Yeah, I have like almost none of my stuff yet, including the
Oh,
mouth.
okay. Okay.
So I have a portion from my still life here, and I just started with this one, so I'm super light.
Well, can
so
you
far.
just maybe show me one of the ones you drew and just pick it up, because I can't. All I can see is the piece of paper. I can't see the drawing.
Gotcha. I'm coming.
Okay.
Okay.
Take your time.
So if I can get this right here.
All right, Sergio, I think you're just you're too developed in your drawings. I think you need less shading, and it's too finished. They're too finished. So try to draw that shoe again and try to have it totally loose marks. The second you slow down with your marks, quit drawing and start a new drawing. Just make a loose gesture that never develops beyond that, and I want to see what that looks like. And I want you to do the shoe again. Are you there, Sergio?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, yeah. Start over with the shoe, all loose and light marks. Those are heavy and careful marks, and I want to just see the loose marks without anything else on top of it. All right, Calvin, what you got?
Okay, this one
tip it more upright. Tip it up. Yeah, I can't see it at all.
Yeah, barely. Great. Okay. I'm definitely gonna have to.
That's
make sure I
okay.
get a better setup.
Yeah, no, and I know you're working on it, so I don't want you to feel cheated that you're not getting feedback, but hopefully if you're listening, you understand.
I'm getting more while I'm listening, and
Good.
I am very disappointed with these, so I don't want you to see them anyway. I'll get a better setup. We'll try it again. I'll be good.
All right. Well, keep drawing. Don't stop drawing. Just
Definitely.
I just can't give you feedback. Okay, so Sergio, that's an outline. That's an outline of a shoe. So think about the shoe first as a circle, just a smushed circle. And then think about round, like imagine if the shoelaces were just wrapped around the entire shoe. So try to just get the most general aspects of the shoe. You're too good at this. You're too good at the outline. And so just a looser, imagine the shoe was wrapped in a piece of fabric and you couldn't see any of the details of the shoe. It was just a blob of a shoe. That's kind of what we're going for. Yeah, I like that. All right, Haley, I think you're ready for a new piece of paper. You're getting squished. How gestural do you think you're working, Haley? Are you outlining or are you gesturing? Because from what I can see, it looks like outlines, but I can't see it all.
I feel pretty stuck on the outlines.
Okay.
Some of them I'm getting into gestural, but it's difficult.
Why don't you, like with a wine bottle, why don't you kind of focus on like the wine inside the bottle? Like, can you draw the air inside of it without drawing the bottle? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I was about to say, I was like, it's empty, but
yeah, it's empty, but we'll pretend. And so the same thing, like I would think about like what's the air inside of the bowl, and what's the, even if it just winds up being this mess of scribbly, nasty lines, I feel okay about that. Just try to draw everything but the outline. Like now that you've outlined it, you can check that off and try to find what's inside of that. Okay, Tiliana, I'm liking the sunscreen pump. I think you've got some good forms there. I don't know where your drawing went, but I see your still life.
How's my setup?
Who am I talking to?
Caitlin.
Caitlin. Okay. Caitlin, are we talking about the view of your easel?
Yeah, like.
Yeah. So I would say, can you get your camera? Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Overall.
Okay. Well, I'm trying to find your second camera, but the camera I can see. Oh, the Samsung. Okay. I gotcha. Yes. So you're right-handed. You have the still life off to your left. That's good. You're standing. That's good. My view is not good. Like for me, whichever camera is supposed to be for me to see you, I need that to be basically where your head is when you're drawing, as close to that as we can get. And I know it might not be perfect today, but being able to see, like if it's the horizontal one down there, it needs to come a lot higher and look down a little more and also get a lot closer. Like, see how tiny your drawing pad is on the page?
And Professor Hall, how is
froze a little bit, Caitlin.
the height of my life still life?
Jerry, it looks everything looks
down
low.
Here. That's
You're
what
so
I would
tall.
Think.
Yeah.
It's my problem. Okay.
Yeah.
So I make sure. I kind of felt like it was.
Mm-hmm. And look, Jerry, when you hold your arm straight out in front of you, that's where the middle of your paper should be. So you might want to raise your drawing pad up a little bit, but then I think in the long run, you're going to want your still life 2 feet higher. 2 feet higher. Yeah. It's fine today. You're fine today, but that's where we're headed, or I'm hoping.
And then how is the drawing of this? I've just been putting the
drawing
on
is
top.
nice. The drawing is
better
nice.
than before.
Mm-hmm. And I like that you're using, working up a little higher.
Joel, how does the shoe look right now?
All right, that's better. You still started outlining it at the end, but those early lines you were making where you're, do you know how those felt different? You know how your mindset was different when you were doing those?
Yeah.
That's the gesture mindset. So look around your room, just find some random things. You don't even have to pick them up and move them, but just above the shoe and below the shoe. Draw some of them, don't finish them. Just draw the scribbly part, that other mindset. Don't move on to the details. We don't need that yet. But I will say, for you as an artist, going forward, those lines are very dark. They will be hard to draw on top of. So that's what I'm nervous for you, is when you do start outlining, those lines are so heavy, they're going to be hard to change and fix later. But your early lines, your early loose lines, they're great. Joel, I still want to see lines that wrap around the form a little more. And I'm looking at the opening, the top of that. How open is the top of that vase you're looking at? Are you looking way down on it?
That's it right there.
Okay. I can't see the opening at all. For me, all I see is a straight line.
Right.
What do you see? Do you see inside the opening?
I can, I can, like, from where I am, I can.
I see a really good model you could be drawing instead of that vase.
Sorry about that.
Hey, if you can get her to sit still, you should use her. But the looking in the opening, if you can see in the opening, then you should be drawing an opening. But how much do you see? I think it's really skinny.
It is.
Like, yeah, so yours needs to be really skinny.
Okay. All right. So,
Yeah,
what about me?
You need to
What?
get that cute little girl to sit still so you can draw her head or something.
Well, there's 2 of them running around right now.
Oh, 2 of them. Oh, that's too many. One's okay. Who was just talking?
Me. Marihan.
Oh, let's see what you're doing. What are you doing? I just lost your video, Mary Hen. Okay. Yeah.
It's actually like looks like this, but I don't know the light.
You don't know how to
I have problem with this one. Like,
Okay.
look how it's come.
It's too short. It's not long enough, right?
Yeah, maybe.
And the spout, you know, the body, the right side of it is okay, but yeah, when you get to the spout, it needs to get longer. And you have it coming to a very sharp point, but I think it, you know, longer. And loose marks. And you know, you don't have marks that wrap around your vase, but I think you need that. Guys, we only have a couple minutes left in class, but can I just show you one thing quickly that I want you to try to do, just maybe with your last 1 or 2 gestures? Give me just a second to pull up my thing here. Oops. 5, 6, 7, 9. Okay. Well, maybe I'm not going to show you anything. Okay. Sorry, guys. I'll let you know when I've got it working here. All right, technology is not my friend, but I've got backup. So hold on just a second. I'm just going to pull up a picture. Do you guys remember what when I talked about cross contour lines that wrap around the form? Okay, take a look at the screen just for 1 second. Look at the way the lines are wrapping around each of these objects. Do you see how there's sort of multiple, I'm going to call them longitude and latitude lines? I want you to add this into your gesture. So you've already done a loose gesture, but as you're developing it, this is what I want you to do. Not so much looking at the outlines, but drawing lines that show the surface of the object and the way it's turning in space. So each of these lines is at a different point on the form, and it's giving some different information. So each of them will curve a little bit differently and wrap around. Look at this little vase in the bottom right corner. Do you see how it's recording all that information, where it scoops in, where it curves back out? So do that. Maybe pick an object that you think will be a good object for that if you want to start fresh, or if you want to just build right on top of the drawing you already have going. That's okay. But let's use that as an inspiration for how to push the drawing a little further, a little further as we work. All right. Christian, I'm looking at your pot and I'm wondering, does it get smaller at the bottom? Do you have it too wide at the bottom of that pot?
The one I did before it was better. Can you hear me?
No, say that again.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead. I said no, I couldn't hear you, but I could.
The one I did before this is better.
Oh, okay. Okay, I want to see.
I think it's better. You may not. I think it's a bit better than the last one. If you can see it, I don't know. I'm still trying to figure this out with the camera.
Yeah, that's okay. I think the camera is still, well, I would say turn your camera vertical for this particular drawing, but I just was wondering, like I can see the pot, right? With it has a little flower painted on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the bottom is so skinny. Look how skinny that is. It's like a cone, right? And it gets real skinny at the bottom.
So draw it different.
So draw it where the top is as wide as it is, but the bottom, look at the angles as it goes in. A lot skinnier.
So
maybe start with the vertical axis line, then do those ellipses. Yeah, you got it. Hey, can you see inside the top of the opening of that pot?
Actually, yeah, a little bit. I can.
You see a little bit? Okay. Yeah. So guys, as you wrap up this final sketch, I feel really good about the progress we made today. I think I already have created a Dropbox folder for you to continue doing some gesture drawings and drop your 2 to 4 most successful gesture drawings in that folder between now and next class. So those wouldn't be drawings you did in class, they'll be drawings you do between now and then. I think some of you have a lot of options for forms, and others, if you find you're struggling, maybe you need to make a trip to Salvation Army or like Community Aid. Isn't it 50% off on Wednesdays? You might want to go and just find yourself some still life objects to look at. We didn't actually look at your still life setup pictures. I have them downloaded. I have them sitting right here that I wanted to look at them with you. I already gave feedback to Haley. Kirti, I think you just need to be closer to your still life. I think there's no reason to be so far away from it. So if you can find a way to just arrange yourself closer. The only other feedback I would say to you guys is you either need a drapery in the background or you need a room in the background. And whichever one you choose, at some point you should probably change to the other so you get to experience having more space, an atmosphere versus having some drapery. So next class will be a continuation of gesture drawing where we'll deal more with a group of objects and how to break that page down and lay out your page and look at the grouping. So for next class, you do need to have a still life arrangement with several objects because we'll be drawing a whole arrangement. Right now, it doesn't matter if the objects are glass. It doesn't matter if they're complicated. I think you can put pretty much anything in a still life right now and it'll be okay. As we get into some of the other shading and things like that, you may not want overly patterned or textured or all glass forms. But what I saw of what you guys had was mostly just fine. So make sure you have an arrangement for next time. Drop a couple of images into Dropbox of your gesture drawings between now and then. And are there any other questions? We'll just keep going on Thursday.
Miss Hall?
Yeah.
I wasn't able to submit it for some reason. It just wouldn't let me submit images. And I've been trying all day and Dropbox just won't work for me. So should I just...
Okay, who's talking right now? Christian. Okay. So you're telling me you could not upload or any type of image. Did you have a JPEG or do you know what type of file it was?
It was JPEGs because it was off my phone or something like that.
Okay. Because sometimes your phone will do this like HEIC.
HEIC files, yeah.
Yeah, and now I get those too, as far as I can tell. There shouldn't be any issue with the type of file you're uploading.
I know it just wouldn't. It's like it's not that it had a problem with the file; it just refused to upload, like my internet or something like that.
Like, because it was too big, do you think?
I have no idea.
Okay. Well, okay, for this time, email them to me.
Okay.
But we cannot go the whole semester like that. So try just taking a picture on your desktop computer. Try sending them to your desktop computer and uploading them from your desktop.
Okay.
Also, try just taking a picture off of like Google image search and try uploading that and see if that works. So just troubleshoot a little bit for me, and then if you still can't get it to upload, you need to call IT and they will help you get it figured out. And they're pretty smart over there.
All right, that sounds good.
Okay, but I mean, if go ahead and I guess email it to me if that doesn't wind up working, but do get it figured out before things are due next week.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Thanks, Christian. All right, you guys are free to leave. Sign off. Oh, I just saw somebody crumple their drawings. No crumpling. All these are portfolio pieces now, so we need to save them. You'll need them for your in-class portfolio grade. So if anything, you should be photographing the stuff as you finish it, because you're going to need to submit a portfolio of your work for your in-class grade. So definitely don't damage your artwork. These are very smudgy, these vine charcoal drawings. So you can just kind of close them up in your newsprint, but you can also take the fixative that you got. It's like kind of like hairspray. You know how hairspray like sets your hair in a position? So the goal is to sort of set your drawing. Just need a quick misting. Don't do it in your house or you'll like kill brain cells. But take it outside, give a light spray maybe to your drawing. It'll matter more whenever we start shading. There's a lot of charcoal on the paper. But yeah, save those drawings, fold up your drawing pad, do some gestures between now and Thursday. That's it. We'll talk a little more about still lifes. If you didn't upload a picture of your still life yet, you gotta have one for Thursday. So go ahead and as your stuff comes in, upload a picture of your still life and a picture of your, studio space, because the people who did upload them, I was able to give them a little bit of feedback that I think is going to be really important. So, all right, have a good night. Have a good Wednesday, and I'll see you Thursday night.
All right, thank you.
All right, bye, guys.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, bye.
Did it come different now? Like, I guess, yeah, no.
Okay, are you talking to me, Maria Hun?
Yeah.
Okay, what are you saying?
It's
does it look different?
now.
Oh, yeah, that's better. Now you're looking down on it still, so you may still have to show an opening. How does the handle look? Does the handle look like that?
Let me show you.
Okay, so the handle joins a little more smoothly, doesn't it? It joins in a smoother way to the body of the picture. So on the top, it leaves at a pretty straight angle, so maybe you need to make it a little more straight. On the bottom, it joins much lower down. Doesn't the handle attach to the bottom almost very close to the foot?
No.
Yeah, well, right, but you need to change your drawing, right?
So Justin, get it down?
Yes, well, the top needs to be right, and then the bottom is much lower. Think about how wide the handle is, and yeah, do you see how now if you're drawing the underneath the bottom part of the handle, you see how it goes very low on the form?
Yeah.
Yeah. So just keep analyzing it to see, you know, is it joining at the right? Yes, that's a better angle. The horizontal is a better angle for it to attach. Do you see how when you're drawing the handle, it's going up? It's leaving and going up, but when you look at the real one, it's going more straight out.
Yeah.
Yeah, so those are the kind of changes you can make. And when you understand how thick the handle is, right where the handle attaches to the body, it gets thick, doesn't it? It gets kind of bigger and more spread out and wide. So as the handle scoops back down, you need to make it lower and bigger and wider.
Yeah,
How
okay.
many is there a little foot on that thing? Yeah, show me the real one again. Yeah, so look at where the foot is starting, and then look at where the bottom of the spout is. Do you see